I called Dr. Manas to speak on the alternate vessel donor bypass.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we are seeing, sir. Yeah.
I just had one comment on the CP angle discussion vertebral artery before I start my talk. We also had experience on vertebral artery injury, but after changing to C-shaped incision, I think Dr. Suresh Nair didn't complete his talk. So it's a larger mastectomy incision, and then reflecting all the muscle from lateral to medial, subperiosteally, what he was explaining, the chances of vertebral artery injury has significantly come down. It takes a little longer time, but then vertebral artery injuries are less. Can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Now, my talk also is similar on quoting examples of a few cases of how to overcome complications when during surgery by learning microsurgical technique of bypass or anastomosis. So it's not that though we had a lot of endovascular techniques, we had a lot of hybrid surgeons, but then microsurgery has a role. It's important to understand all types of this fourth generation bypass, which this paper came by Lawton in last year, to use whenever you have complications during surgery. Though it is used only in aneurysm, but it also can be used whenever we have problems with tumor surgery also. So I'll present a short series of our experience in this, and I will illustrate with cases of one case of moya, an aneurysm, one aneurysm, and a tumor. Now, this patient it operated recently, who came in June with in the COVID period. All the time we don't have very good results. Means all the this is standard STMC bypass. We harvest the graft from the flap rather than directly on it, so that I can come later to because the resident can reflect the flap, and then I come back and harvest the graft from the flap. But and then make an incision in the temporalis muscle, bring out the flap, bring out the STA, and do the anastomosis. This is the standard technique, but every day is not good. Many times the STA gets damaged while reflecting the flap, or sometimes we don't get a good STA. And then what has to be done? What are the alternatives when during surgery we do not have it? We have damaged the STA, or we have not got a good flow in the STA. And you have a post-op scan, so it's a good flow, but this is not rosy all the time. Now, this child who came this year, a 5-year-old child, had a attempted bypass in an outside hospital. During that, they did not find they could not do the STMCA, so they did an indirect. But 15 days later, child had again a stroke, so they were referred to us for further treatment, and this was the incision this child had. So what are the options we had to do? Because he already has an indirect, he already had attempted a direct, which has failed. And the patient still has a recurrent seizures. And in the angio, there was not much of filling on that same side from the ICA. So what we planned is to do a first stage of occipital to MCA bypass, and second stage was to the opposite side, STMC bypass after 1 month. So this is the incision along the, we marked the occipital artery with the Doppler. And this is how the incision was done. We did this along the occipital artery, and then opened the posterior limb of the previous incision. So the occipital artery was mobilized, and then it was brought under the flap here to do an MCA anastomosis. And this is the small video clip of that. This is the harvesting of the occipital artery. Professor Nair has made my job easy because he already explained the anatomy of the occipital artery. And then from here, the steps are similar. Open the dura, identify the MCA vessel, and do the anastomosis. And this is the end of the occipital to MCA anastomosis. So what is important is to harvest a very long segment of occipital artery so that it reaches the place of interest. And then the patient came 1 month later with the opposite side. As I told you, we reflect a flap. Earlier we used to do along the STA, but now we reflect a flap and later come back, and so that I come back and join the resident to harvest the graft. Now, what do you do if the STA is damaged? Then STA can be used as a conduit. But then, if you use STA as a conduit, from where to where? The sources what we have is can use the middle meningeal artery, or you can use an internal maxillary artery or occipital artery, as already explained. Now, this is a patient where the middle meningeal. This is not a case that we had an STA damage, but this patient had a very good middle meningeal. So we use the middle meningeal to use an additional bypass in a Moyamoya disease. Now, if you don't have the middle meningeal, already ST is damaged, one can also use, explore the middle cranial fossa, the infratemporal fossa, identify the maxillary nerve, and follow that. It's important, means the incision is same, only thing is one has to take out the zygomatic arch, drill the middle cranial fossa, expose the pterygomaxillary fissure, and identify the internal maxillary artery here in the pterygomaxillary fissure. And from this artery, one can use the STA or damaged STA as a conduit from internal maxillary to the MCA as an anastomosis. This is it's not done routinely. It's only in case whenever one has a problem. So this is the internal maxillary is being harvested to use as a donor graft. Now this is another child who came with 11-year-old child came with sudden onset of headache, and the CT scan showed subarachnoid hemorrhage, and this is the angiogram finding. The angiogram had an aneurysm in the distal ACA. It was a fusiform aneurysm. You can see here, it was a fusiform aneurysm. So our plan was to do excision of the aneurysm and then do end-to-end anastomosis. But then if it was not feasible to use a conduit like from STA or do a reimplantation of the distal vessel into the pericallosal artery. So this is the video of the case. We did an anterior interhemispheric approach. Yeah, the aneurysm was identified here. And you can see it is coming. The distal Barron vessel is coming from the fundus. So during surgery, we didn't think that I can do a primary end-to-end anastomosis after excising the aneurysm. So we mobilized the distal vessel, then identified the pericallosal artery. And then we did a pericallus reimplantation of the distal parent vessel on the pericallosal artery. With a short of time, I'll shorten the video. So the technique is similar, which everybody does. And this is at the end of anastomosis, reimplantation. And confirmed with the ICG. Now this was another lady with a 65-year-old lady came with progressive right lower limb weakness for 6 months and upper limb weakness of 2 months. and she had a parasagittal meningioma in the motor cortex. So we did again a parasagittal craniotomy and then excision of the tumor, but accidentally the laser is quite useful in detaching the tumor from the FARCs, but accidentally the callosum marginal artery, which was engulfed by the tumor, at the end of tumor excision, it was damaged. Though I was attempting to preserve, but there was an accidental damage of the vessel. So at the end, we identified again both the sites, mobilized both of them, and then did anastomosis. So what is important is if one has coagulated the margins, it's better to excise the coagulated margin so that the chances of having a bleed later, like what we have discussed now, that if what Dr. Ashish Suri was telling, if coagulation is there, better to sacrifice. But if coagulation is there, better to also excise that part and do anastomosis of the normal wall so that the chances of having giving way later can be avoided. So this was primary anastomosis was done and then confirmed with an ICG. So the three cases illustrated fortunately had good outcome. What is the take-home message is microcell training in all types of bypass, all types of generation of bypass helps in management of complex cases. It also helps in management of avoiding intra-op, it cannot avoid, but at least manage intra-op complications and reduces morbidity. Thank you for your attention, and I'd like to thank Dr. Parithos and Dr. Paramasivam for giving an opportunity to talk in this conference.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Question is open for discussion.
One small question. When you do these anastomosis, Dr. Manas, do you reinforce on the surface with Surgicel and glue over it? Will that help to prevent the pseudoaneurysm formation and late rupture?
Yeah, only if the anastomosis size had some bleeding or leaking, I reinforce with Fibrilla or fibrin glue. But if there is no leak, then I don't use it.
Okay. Actually, now posterior auricular artery is also emerging as one of the conduit when the superficial temporal artery is not available. The occipital artery is a little bit farther. So, did you do a DSA and find posterior auricular artery? Because it comes in the posterior margin of the wound, it's easy to mobilize it. In those cases where STA is not suitable.
Yeah, this is because this was STA was already damaged, so posterior auricular also will be small. So that's why we look for a bigger vessel, and occipital actually is easier to harvest than an posterior auricular.
Recent papers are coming out on posterior auricular artery bypass using posterior auricular artery.
Yes, but there are a lot of papers on occipital also, so that's why we used occipital.
Is occipital artery more lengthy as compared to the posterior auricular artery? I think so.
Yes,
I'm not exactly. Much more. Number one.
Number
two, if you have just cut the superficial temporal artery, you can probably resuture it and utilize the superficial temporal artery itself.
Yes, I have attempted that also, but then if it doesn't work, then you have to find alternatives.
No. I'm not telling that, because I have seen that. Say once I was in Barrows,
yes.
They decided to do the handcuff node uromyosinangiosis.
Yes.
The resident called him that say I have cut the superficial temporal artery and should I do the direct bypass? He told no, I am coming. He came, sutured the superficial temporal artery, and then they did the handcuff node uromyosinangiosis. The other thing is about the meningioma, what you have told. Usually it doesn't happen with the parasagittal meningioma. But in Fox meningioma, many a times what happens, the pericallosal, usually not, but the callosomarginal even goes through the tumor. So when you are starting dissecting from the in the tumor, You enter from a particular place where the artery is entering and go on, and you will be able to. It's just not related to this, but
yeah.
Dr. Rupesh, one comment, Manas.
Yes.
Yeah. See, you told that you take a flap, the resident takes a flap, and you come later and to take the, for a superficial temporal artery dissection, right? Yeah, that's what we do actually for something like that. I first dissect out the superficial temporal artery, and then reflect part of it, and then leave. And then they let the resident take out the craniotomy, and then I come back. Rather than making a bigger flap, we do the same way as the superficial temporal. I dissect out both the branches, leave it covered with papaverine, and leave the resident for doing the craniotomy, and come back and do the anastomosis whenever, for example, for a protective bypass or something like that, when you are doing for a difficult aneurysm.
More safe.
Yeah. The reflecting flap, I thought, means because we always combine direct and indirect. So this flap gives better.
I'm not talking of myoma. I'm talking of patients who have for a protective bypass for an aneurysm.
For aneurysm, yes.
Dr. Suri has a comment.
Yeah, just one question and two comments. The question is excellent talk, Dr. Manas. This is a different paradigm to the usual ones. I think we should have these alternate bypasses. One question: how do you measure the occipital artery? You can get an angiogram and measure it. That will come right to the Sylvan Fisher.
No, with Doppler only we traced it, and on angiogram also can be done.
Okay. That was one. Second is regarding a comment on one of the earlier comments. I personally feel that when you are doing a low flow bypass, especially when the anastomotic the adventitia media is very thin, especially when you are doing STA to M3, especially for myoma, it is better not to put any flow seal or glue. It's all right if you can put some wet sponge stand. That's the best, because we've seen in one of my cases when I put fibrin glue, actually the anastomosis is blocked. So I think these small pores through which the holes go in, they become leaky, and slowly you wait for 3-4 minutes, put some wet sponge stand, and they become it seals. But putting any glue or any flow seal there actually
we never put glue, and a little bit bleeding is actually good. That your bypass is patent. If it is not,
maybe a couple of wet sponge patches of gel foam, and then you can remove them.
I also don't use. He asked the question. I said only. Normally we put fibrillar only if there is everything around that.
The other point is, if it bleeds, it's good actually. If you have opened this temporary clip, there is some bleed, it's a good thing. To my mind,
it's air particles and all.
Anastomosis is working. If it is not bleeding at all, that means there is some problem.
Yeah. And second comment was, we never make a flap. My head is, I can demonstrate easily. So you can make our incision directly on the stump of the STA, and then trace the frontal and the parietal branches. So I can even depict the whole surface marking. And then it is the incision is based on the parietal branch, and then we dissect the complete parietal branch, and then take the flap in front and dissect the frontal branch. Usually this is done by me or my faculty, junior faculty, or who's always with me, sometimes with me, and then we leave the flap and all for the resident of the fellow to make. So I think the harvesting of the vessel is very important. That is, but yes, but one must even in my hands. We are not God. Even in anyone's hands, you can sacrifice a vessel. But I think these alternate channels are a must-know for any vascular surgeon. Thank you.
For the kids, sir, if you do a flap, you get a much more indirect anastomosis.
No, the thing is, what you do is,
so if you make a flap like this, and
this is not for myoma.
For myoma, sir.
Not for myoma. We are talking. I'm talking of doing a protective bypass for.
No, even
that is different.
I do the same in myoma, sir. I take the incision on the parietal branch of the, retract the skin behind, because the flap comes like this. Retract the skin behind and take the muscle, the complete muscle flap. There is enough flap. You can retract the skin and take the muscle flap down for the.
I do like Ashish. I do the same thing. I mean, I don't take a flap. I do like on the posterior branch.
Yes, sir.
So many times the parietal branch is bigger than frontal. If you do a Doppler, so if you do flap, then we may injure the parietal one. The frontal may be a smaller one.
Parietal branch is most of the time the more dominant branch.
Usually the Doppler doesn't pick up the frontal branch because if the pad of fat is thick there. So once you have taken it off, the parietal branch and the stump, then you dissect it. You dissect it over with under the. But this dissection has to be done under the microscope. This is what I don't know what the other panelists what do they think, but I personally feel that the STA harvesting is best under the microscope.
This is right from skin. I do it my microscope under skin.
Yes,
skin under microscope.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So thank you very much, sir, for listening. A good discussion. Your topic was very interesting.